What he did to me has been the total destruction of my life and my girlfriend's life. He stole my memory, he took my girlfriend, he took my career, and this was just an unprovoked attack.
This is Los Angeles, summer 1985. A city built on endless sunshine and the California dream. Approximately 10 million people are living here this summer, flocking to the coast, showing off in the sun, pushing their limits, coasting down the boardwalk, gathering in crowds, finding reasons to laugh, celebrating life, and just living the dream. Ordinary things, the only kinds of things most lives are made of, and the only kinds of things that, once they are gone, you cannot replace with anything. But that summer, when the sun set over the Pacific, the dream became a nightmare.
It's either that or be a sitting duck. I have grandchildren. They come to stay. Should I sit by and watch them get killed, or should I try to save them?
Do you like the idea of having to learn how to use a gun?
I find it appalling. I find it heartbreaking. I find it all those things.
Chase isn't alone. Enrollment at the Santa Anita firing range is up 150%. For the first time, 35% of the students are female, and most are here because of the killer. Nancy Gilmore is buying a lock to secure her windows.
These burglars have been happening, and also it's kind of hard in the summer. It gets hot in the apartment, and you want to leave your window a little bit open, but also not have anybody be able to get in.
Is there such a thing as a bad seed when a baby is born? Is he already a serial killer? I believe that it is the environment that will determine how a child will, or who he will grow up to be.
Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez is born in El Paso, Texas, the youngest of 5 children born to Julian and Mercedes Ramirez, Mexican immigrants working in the railroad district on the south side of the city. Julian Ramirez drinks heavily. He punishes the children physically. Hard enough, according to family testimony and accounts given to biographer Philip Carlo, that the children sometimes fled the house and hid in the nearby cemetery to escape him. We note this clinically, the way a pathologist notes the condition of tissue at the start of an examination. Not to excuse what follows, the forensic record is explicit, as we will establish, that nothing that follows was inevitable. We note it because accuracy requires it, and because the environment in which a developing brain is raised is a variable with measurable neurological consequences. At approximately age 2, Ramirez sustains his first traumatic brain injury. A heavy dresser falls on him, unconscious, 30 stitches to the forehead. The impact site, the frontal region, the developing prefrontal cortex, governing impulse control, moral reasoning, and consequence evaluation, absorbs significant blunt force at a period of critical neurological formation. He is 2 years old. His prefrontal cortex will not be fully mature for another 23 years. He absorbs the injury at the worst possible moment in its development. The second injury occurs in kindergarten, loss of consciousness again, 2 traumatic brain injuries before age 6. Following these injuries, a diagnosis of temporal lobe epilepsy, grand mal seizures through adolescence. The psychiatric evaluations conducted in his adult life and later entered into evidence at his trial noted a consistent profile: hypersexuality, chronic dissociation, quasi-religious ideation, schizoid personality features, social withdrawal, emotional blunting, and inability to form meaningful human attachment. The architecture of the damage was being laid, brick by brick, before he was old enough to choose any of it.
Did he hit you? Did he ever leave you black and blue? Yeah, one time he got me with a water hose and he was gonna shoot Rishi one time. He was so mad, but now she'll hide the gun.
His father's punishments were severe enough that the children ran to a cemetery to escape them. That detail is not incidental. It is the first data point in a pattern that would define the next 2 decades of Ramirez's psychology. He began, as a very young child, to associate death-adjacent spaces with safety. The cemetery was where his father's violence could not reach him. The cemetery was, by his own account to multiple evaluators, where he felt calm. Think about what that means for a moment. For most children, home is safety, and the unknown is threat. For Ramirez, that was inverted. Home was where the danger lived. The cemetery was where he could breathe. That inversion was not a metaphor he chose. It was the conclusion his child's nervous system drew from the available evidence. By adolescence, the traits had calcified: aversion to intimacy, a disordered relationship with bodily boundaries, an inability to register fear in contexts that would produce fear in a neurotypical subject. He was not a normal child. The damage was structural and real. But here, the forensic record stops short of the conclusion that sensationalized accounts of this case always want to reach. Because a damaged brain on its own does not produce a serial killer. What happens next required a human being, and the human being had a name. When Ramirez is approximately 12 years old, he enters the most psychologically formative relationship of his life. His cousin, Miguel Angel Valles Sr., known as Mike, returns from the Vietnam War, decorated Special Forces, a Green Beret, to a 12-year-old boy who had been raised by a violent father and had no template for a male authority figure who was not a source of pain. Mike Valdez arrived as a revelation, a man who was powerful without being frightening, a man who commanded respect, a man worth looking up to. That admiration is not a footnote. It is the mechanism through which everything that followed was transmitted.
Was your cousin Mike an influence on you? Yes, I looked up to him. This motherfucker, he was vicious, mean, strong, determined.
Mike did not just tell Richard war stories. He showed him photographs he claimed documented acts of extreme violence against Vietnamese women during his time in service. He described how he had carried out those acts, how he had selected targets, how he had controlled situations, how he had avoided consequences. He went further than that. According to accounts given to investigators and documented in the biographical record, Valdez did not stop at stories. He demonstrated physical techniques, specific methods he had learned in the field, things that had no purpose outside of causing harm to another person. He was walking a 12-year-old boy who worshipped him through a curriculum.
What about the intentions of the children? I saw it when I was young. I was probably 11. How did that affect you? Pretty good. I didn't mind seeing all that boring violence. It was a turn-up to me. It was exciting.
Ramirez was not encountering violence as a concept. He was receiving a personal account from the first person he had ever admired. The neurological encoding of that account in a brain already compromised by injury, already primed toward dissociation, already organized around the association of violence with power, was not casual. It was foundational. In 1973, Mike shot and killed his wife in front of Richard Ramirez at point-blank range. Richard was 13 years old. He did not describe grief. He did not describe trauma. He described calm. Ramirez, in multiple subsequent psychiatric evaluations, described his emotional state after witnessing the killing as calm. Clinicians noted the absence of any reported trauma response as a significant marker of already present dissociative pathology. The architecture was complete.
When I was young, I remember it. I don't think I had seen stuff like that before. My cousin, he used to say, "There's no thrill like a good kill."
He drops out of high school, drifts between El Paso, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. He develops a serious drug habit, regularly using marijuana and cocaine. It is an addiction that will dictate much of his chaotic lifestyle in the years leading up to the murders.
I'd like to know your feelings about what they call the devil's dance of cocaine. Right. I love it. I think it's very harmful to the body. Right. But the sense of pleasure it gives is very profound.
He did not start out as a predator. According to childhood friend Eddie Milam, who grew up with him in El Paso, Richard was just an ordinary kid.
He was a good boy, a common boy. We played baseball, football, and basket, and like the average boy. Ricky was energetic, easygoing, mild guy. He would never look for trouble.
He wasn't a born killer. In fact, he was bullied. To protect themselves, he and his friends turned to martial arts.
We would be bullied by the kids of the school. They would jump us like 4 at a time, never one by one, always 4 at a time. But by that time, we had to learn how to defend ourselves. So we started learning martial arts. There's a lot of people that don't know that Ricky knew martial arts. So we started defending ourselves and taking care of ourselves through martial arts. And within time, the kids from the school, they left us alone. They wouldn't bother with us no more.
The emissary of Satan started learning to fight because he was tired of being beaten up by neighborhood kids. He practiced obsessively, drilling alone, building physical confidence in a body that otherwise had nothing to stand on. But as the brain injuries took their toll, the drugs took over, and his cousin Mike's violent influence seeped in. The normal boy disappeared.
He started checking out books on the Boston Strangler, Jack the Ripper, and it fascinated him. What intrigued him more was getting to have a interest in Satanism and getting to know Satan the devil. But what I started noticing about Ricky wanted to have a personal relationship with Satan the devil.
By his late teens, he is surviving through petty theft and burglary. His brother-in-law Roberto introduces him to voyeurism as a precursor to break-ins. He begins watching houses at night, standing in the dark outside windows, cataloging the vulnerabilities of sleeping people, feeling, by his own later account, a growing sensation of power from being unseen. He starts listening obsessively to a specific AC/DC song called Night Prowler, a song about a man who enters bedrooms at night. He plays it on loop. He wears an AC/DC hat. The specific sneaker tread he wears will eventually become a forensic identifier across multiple crime scenes. He is building himself, fantasy by fantasy, piece by piece. By 1984, he is ready. Glassell Park, Los Angeles, June 28th, 1984. Jenny Vincow is 79 years old. She has been alive since 1905, born before commercial aviation, before television, before the atomic bomb. She has lived through 2 world wars, a depression, and the entire arc of the American century. She lives in a second-floor apartment on Denton Street. Her son Jack lives directly below her. She has left her window open tonight because it is June, and it is warm, and she is in her own home, and she has every right to be comfortable in it. Ramirez cuts the window screen. He enters. What follows is classified by forensic pathologists as overkill, an extreme excess of violence far beyond what would have been required. The violence itself was the point. The death was incidental to the expression of it. He burglarizes the apartment, takes jewelry, leaves through the same window. A partial fingerprint is recovered from the window screen. It sits in a file. Jenny Vincow was the first. Rosemead, California, March 17th, 1985. Dale Okazaki is 34 years old. She is home with her roommate, Maria Hernandez. They share an apartment, a real home, built over time with its own routines and rhythms. Maria Hernandez pulls into the garage. Before she can get out of the car, a man steps out of the shadows. She looks him right in the eyes. He pulls up his gun and He shoots her in the face at close range. The bullet strikes her car keys. She falls. He steps over her body and enters the house. Does not survive. Ramirez leaves through the front door, but in his rush to escape, he leaves a critical piece of his Night Prowler costume behind.
The night was March 17th when the walk-in killer struck in Rosemead, murdering Dale Okazaki in her new condominium. The killer left behind a baseball cap embroidered with the logo ACDC.
Within 45 minutes, less than a mile away on Monterey Avenue, he approaches a car stopped at an intersection. He opens the driver's door and pulls out Sai Leung Yu, 20 years old, known to her friends as Linda. He shoots her twice. She dies in the street. The only person who survives that night was Maria Hernandez. She becomes one of the first witnesses to provide a reliable physical description of the perpetrator. Whittier, California, March 27th, 1985. Vincent Zazzara is 64 years old, an attorney, a businessman. He is sitting in front of the television when Ramirez enters the house. He is shot where he sits. He never sees it coming. Maxine is 44 years old, and unlike her husband, Maxine Zazzara is not caught off guard. She fights back. There is a shotgun under the bed. Maxine gets to it. She raises it. She pulls the trigger. The gun misfires. What happens next is what Richard Ramirez does to a woman who dared to fight back. He beats her. He rapes her. He stabs her multiple times. And then, when she is already gone, he takes a knife and removes her eyes from her face. And he takes them with him when he leaves. He takes her eyes. Think about the person who does that. Not the mythology, not the pentagrams, not the heavy metal aesthetic. The specific human being who stands in a bedroom in Whittier, California, and does that to a woman who had just tried to defend herself. The Zazzaras owned a pizza parlor. Vincent had built a legal practice. They had built a life together with their names on things. Maxine Zazzara fought for that life with everything she had. Outside the Zazzara house, investigators find something in the mud of the flower bed, beneath the window he used to enter. A shoe print. Clear and detailed. A distinctive V-shaped tread pattern pressed cleanly into the soil. There is another one. On top of an upside-down bucket he stepped on to climb through the window. They photograph it. They don't know yet what shoe made it. One more piece of a puzzle nobody has solved yet. Monterey Park, California, May 14th, 1985. William Doy is 66 years old. He is a veteran of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, the most decorated unit in United States military history. Japanese-American soldiers who fought in World War II to prove their loyalty to a country that had put their families in internment camps. William Doy survived all of that. When Ramirez enters his bedroom, he reaches for his own handgun. He is shot in the face before he can raise it. Ramirez beats him into unconsciousness. Then he walks into the next room, where Lillian, who had already suffered a severe stroke, 56 years old, limited mobility, is locked into thumb cuffs and raped. The thumb cuffs are still on her when she is found. William Doy regains enough consciousness to drag himself to the phone and call 911. He He is taken by ambulance. He dies in the hospital. He used his last conscious moments on this earth to try to get help for his wife.
Two sisters in their 80s were attacked and beaten in their hillside home in Monrovia.
Mabel Bell is 83 years old. Her sister Florence Leung is 80 years old. They are asleep in their home. Ramirez enters their home and finds a hammer in the kitchen. He beats both of them with it. He binds Florence with an electrical cord so tightly it causes serious injury. He rapes her. Then he takes Mabel Bell's lipstick and draws pentagrams on her thigh and on the walls of both bedrooms. A partial shoe print is found pressed into an alarm clock on the floor beside the bed. He had stepped on it to brace himself while yanking the electrical cord from the wall to bind them with. They are found 2 days later, both still alive, both in a coma. Mabel Bell survives the initial attack, but dies weeks later in the hospital from her injuries. Arcadia, California, June 27th, 1985. Patty Higgins is 32 years old. She lives alone on a dimly lit street. No neighbors close enough to notice anything. She doesn't show up to work. A colleague comes to check on her. Her body is found in the bathroom. Her throat has been slashed. She had no one nearby to hear. No one close enough to help. Mary Cannon is 75 years old, a widowed grandmother. She has arranged her life exactly as she wants it. Ramirez finds her asleep. He beats her with a lamp, then stabs her repeatedly with a 10-inch butcher knife from her own kitchen. She is found dead at the scene. Whitney Bennett is 16 years old. She is asleep in her bedroom when the window screen is quietly removed. A shadow moves through the hallway. It finds her room. He strikes with a tire iron while she sleeps. When he leaves the room to find a knife and comes up empty, he returns, reaching for a telephone cord. He wraps it around her neck, but then a spark. An electrical short arcs from the cord. In the killer's warped, superstitious mind, it is a sign, something divine, something intervening to save her. Terrified by the spark, he drops the cord. He flees into the night. When criminologists arrived at the scene, they found a shoe print on the bedsheets, printed in blood. 478 stitches to close the wounds to her scalp. She survived his brutal attack. Monterey Park, California, July 7th, 1985. Joyce Nelson is 61 years old. She lives alone in a house she bought on her own. A house that was her treasure. She was a fighter. The kind of woman who faced life on her own terms and never stopped. The kind of woman who would go out into the front yard and do cartwheels in black slacks and a white blouse and saddle shoes. She is asleep in her bedroom when Ramirez enters. He beats her with his fists. He kicks her in the head. A shoe print from his sneaker is left imprinted on her face. She fights back. She does not let him rape her. Her son finds her. The last thing he sees of his mother is the blood on the bed and the blood on the floor. A granddaughter had been promised Joyce's necklace, the one she always wore. She had told her grandmother she never wanted to have it because she never wanted to be without her. She wanted her grandmother, not her necklace. He left Joyce Nelson's bedroom filled with rage. killed her, but he failed to rape her. She had fought him off, and he had beaten her to death for it. And that was not enough for him. So he keeps driving. Same night, same city. Less than a mile away. Sophie Dickman is 63 years old. Ramirez enters her home at gunpoint. He handcuffs her. He rapes her. He steals her jewelry and forces her to swear on Satan. Sophie Dickman survives. That same tread has now appeared at scene after scene across Los Angeles County. A flower bed in Whittier, a bed comforter in Sierra Madre, an alarm clock in Monrovia, and now pressed into the face of a 61-year-old woman who fought back. Detectives Carrillo and Salerno had been staring at the cast of that print since April, but Carrillo realized the timeline didn't start with the adult murders. In early 1985, a series of children had been taken from their homes. They were attacked, abandoned hours later. The children gave descriptions of the man who took them. Tall, thin, dark, black shoes. The exact same description given by adult survivors. And at a construction site near one of those early attacks, a shoe print was left in wet cement. It was identical to the print cast from the Zazzara flower bed. The nightmare didn't start at the Zazzara house. It started months earlier with children. 2 investigators. 1 assignment. Find that shoe. They walk into shoe store after shoe store until someone recognizes the tread. An Avia aerobic sneaker, model 440, size 11.5. It is a rare shoe. Investigators track down the manufacturer's sales data. On January 9th, over 1,300 pairs of model 440 Avia shoes cleared customs in New York. But witnesses described black shoes. Of that entire shipment, only the black colorway in size 11.5 matters. The retail trail ends at a single pair shipped to and sold in Los Angeles. 1 pair of shoes, 1 city. It draws a single, unbroken line through the case files, from a construction site in Montebello to a flower bed in Whittier to the face of Joyce Nelson. If they catch the man wearing those shoes, the case is closed. They just have to find him. Glendale, California, July 20th, 1985. Maxon Knighting is 68 years old. Leela is 66. They are Seventh-day Adventists. Every Saturday morning, his granddaughter meets him for coffee. That same granddaughter had been worried about them. She went to their house and told them to lock their doors. There was someone breaking into homes. They needed to be careful. Her grandmother's response was simple. We're from the Midwest. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live where I have to lock my doors and worry about who's going to come into my house. That's not how I am. Ramirez purchases a machete on the morning of July 20th. He drives a stolen car to their home in Glendale. He enters their bedroom while they sleep. He hacks them with the machete. Then he shoots them both in the head with a .22. Then he uses the machete again. She starts calling the house that morning. No answer. She asks her husband to drive her over. She brings her 5-year-old daughter. She doesn't want to go alone. The pool gate is open. They never left the pool gate open. The back door is open too. She walks down the hallway to their bedroom. She discovered the bodies of her grandparents. She sees all the blood. She sees the massacre. She starts to scream so loud that her 5-year-old daughter heard her screaming from outside. Within hours of leaving the conniving house, Ramirez drives to Sun Valley. Chainarong Kovananth is 32 years old. He came from Thailand and built a life here in the San Fernando Valley. He is asleep in his bed when Ramirez enters the bedroom and shoots him in the head with a .22 caliber handgun. He dies instantly. His wife, Somkid, is 32 years old. She is beaten. She is raped. Ramirez drags her from room to room through her own house, demanding to know where the valuables are. When she tells him she has nothing left to give, he forces her to swear on Satan that she is not hiding money from him. Northridge, California, August 6th, 1985. Chris and Virginia Peterson are asleep in their home. Virginia is 27 years old. Ramirez creeps into their bedroom and shoots Virginia in the face. The bullet enters just to the left of her nostril and lodges in the back of her neck. Chris Peterson sits up in bed. Ramirez shoots him in the right side of the head. The bullet does not go through. Chris Peterson gets out of bed and goes after him through his own house. Ramirez fires twice more during the struggle and runs. Both survive. The gun was new, a .25 caliber automatic with an unusual red primer on the shell casings, a detail the forensics team would not forget. Elias Abouaf is 35 years old. He is asleep in his bed. Ramirez enters the master bedroom and shoots him in the head with the same .25 caliber handgun he used 2 nights earlier at the Peterson house. The same red primer ammunition. The same gun. Elias Abouaf never wakes up. Sakina is 27 years old. Ramirez handcuffs her. He beats her. Then he rapes her. When she tries to hold herself together, he leans in and tells her, "Don't look at me." She swears to God she won't. He says, "Don't swear to God. Swear to Satan." San Francisco, California, August 17th, 1985. Ramirez has been following his own media coverage. The pressure in Los Angeles is building. He drives north.
At first, Los Angeles police thought that the murder of a young woman last March was an isolated act of violence, but since then they've come to believe it was connected to a wide-ranging series of assaults by a killer who's become known as the Night Stalker, a killer who apparently struck again during the weekend.
Peter Pan is 66 years old, an accountant, a quiet life built carefully over decades. He is asleep in his bed when Ramirez enters the bedroom and shoots him in the temple with a .25 caliber handgun. The same gun, the same red primer ammunition. Peter Pan dies in his own bed. Barbara is 62 years old. Ramirez subjects her to a brutal, prolonged attack. He fires the weapon and leaves her for dead. She still has a pulse when officers arrive. She is rushed to San Francisco General Hospital. After he is done, Ramirez opens the refrigerator and eats the food inside. Then he vomits on the kitchen floor. Then he masturbates on the living room carpet. Then he takes lipstick and carves a pentagram and the words "Jack the Knife" on the bedroom wall. When San Francisco detectives connect the ballistics to the Los Angeles cases, they brief the LAPD task force immediately. The shoe print, the .25 caliber ammunition with the red primer, the same gun used at Diamond Bar, at Northridge, across 2 counties. Detectives Carrillo and Salerno fly to San Francisco. They are in the right place. They know it. The investigation is finally coming together. Then, Mayor Dianne Feinstein holds a press conference.
Everybody, please closely study this composite. He's someone that will go into a home at night and will kill. It's a very serious situation. There's a $10,000 reward for any information which can lead to his arrest and conviction. Ballistics on the weapon that killed both Mr. and Mrs. Pan out on Eucalyptus over the weekend the same ballistics on, I understand, more than a dozen murders committed in Southern California.
She reveals everything. The shoe print, the ballistics, the connection between San Francisco and Los Angeles. Everything the detectives had fought to keep quiet. Everything only the killer would know. Ramirez is watching. That night, he walks to the Golden Gate Bridge and drops his size 11.5 Avia sneakers into the water below. Carrillo and Salerno are livid. They go to a bar in Chinatown. They sit with their captain and beg him to get Sheriff Sherman Block involved, to stop politicians from destroying their case. Block calls them back 30 minutes later. Get something to eat. Come back to the office. We are going to fix this. He holds his own press conference that night.
Because of the linkage between the events in our community, the murders and assaults and the one in San Francisco, we felt it necessary to disseminate to all law enforcement in the state of California some very critical, sensitive information. It is unfortunate that some of these agencies around the state have released some of that information to the media, and I'm telling you that that information has significantly jeopardized the investigation that is underway. A week ago, we did not have a great deal to work on, but as of this moment, we have one a heck of a lot less.
He does not give up a single detail. He gives the detectives back what Feinstein took from them and gave back their momentum, their focus, and their will to keep going. But the shoes are gone. They never recover them. Ramirez remains in San Francisco for a few more days before driving back to Los Angeles. He is not done. Mission Viejo, California, August 24th, 1985. Bill Carnes is 29 years old. Inez Erickson is 27. They are engaged. They are at the beginning of building a life together. Before Ramirez even reaches their house that night, 13-year-old James Romero III, whose family lives nearby, hears footsteps outside and goes to wake his parents. Ramirez flees. James runs outside and notes the car pulling away.
Romero publicly speaks about the details. The night he met face to face with the Night Stalker.
It was an instinct, and I just went and I saw somebody at our house, and I just went chasing after them.
At age 38, asked Romero what the Night Stalker was wearing that night.
Blue jeans, black members only jacket, a baseball cap.
And the license plate?
482 RTS.
The car the killer may still have was stolen in LA's Chinatown this weekend. It is a 1976 Toyota station wagon, orange in color, license number 482 RTS. It has not yet been found.
Ramirez drives a short distance and finds another house. He enters through a back door. He goes to the bedroom. He cocks his handgun. The sound wakes Bill Carnes. He shoots him 3 times in the head. Then, he turns to Inez Erickson. He tells her he is the Night Stalker. He beats her with his fists. He binds her with neckties from the closet. He subjects her to a brutal attack. He makes her swear her love to Satan, and then tells her before he leaves, tell them the Night Stalker was here.
Almost 3 a.m. Sunday morning, a 29-year-old woman told deputies an intruder shot her boyfriend in the head, then turned on her.
Inside Mission Community Hospital, 29-year-old Bill Carnes fights for his life. His fiancée, who was also attacked, is at his bedside.
The intruder grabbed her, he sexually assaulted her, and tied her up.
Frank Salerno, the 46-year-old sheriff sergeant leading the investigation, predicted the killer would murder again, and he did.
East Los Angeles, August 31st, 1985, Hubbard Street. Ramirez steps off the Greyhound bus from Phoenix. He walks into the convenience store. He reaches for some candy. He sees his own face on the front page of La Opinion. The headline reads, Invasor Nocturno, Night Invader. He runs. He runs. He lunges for the car, but the neighborhood is ready. The hunter is now the hunted. A full neighborhood chasing him down. The Night Stalker is done.
As we told you earlier, the man believed to be the walk-in killer was caught through the efforts of some very alert and very involved citizens. Elizabeth Anderson reports the residents of Boyle Heights are very proud of their heroic efforts.
Earlier today, the residents here on Hubbard Street were filled with fear. Not anymore. Now the streets are filled with excitement. That's because the walk-in killer prime suspect was captured on Hubbard Street this morning. As soon as the word got out, hundreds of curious onlookers drove past the neighborhood. None of them could believe the prime suspect had been arrested in their own backyard. Manuel de la Torre is being called a hero. He ran to his wife's rescue today when he saw another man hitting his wife while pulling her out of her gold Granada. That's when Torres grabbed a lead pipe and began hitting that man, who eventually turned out to be the prime walking killer suspect. De la Torres tells his story as his friend Robert Alvarez translates. A lot of people think he's a hero. How does he feel about that? No, not a hero? De la Torres was protecting his wife Angie de la Torres, who was still filled with fears. Faustino Pignon is another hero in this neighborhood. Earlier today, he chased after the same suspect after he claims Ramirez was trying to steal his red Mustang. And even though he says he was being threatened with a gun, Pignon fought that suspect anyway.
Right by the neck.
Right by the neck, and then what?
And we struggled back and forth with the car. He was going forward and back with the car.
Maria Marijo's face tells her story. She is still filled with shock because it was her daughter, Angie de la Torre, who was accosted in her own car by Ramirez. She knows her daughter's all right now.
Ahora ya sabe que su hija está bien, ¿verdad? Y gracias a Dios, sí, muchas gracias.
And now Hubbard Street is filled with excitement. The residents here share the feelings of so many others. They say they can walk the streets again. They can sleep safely in their homes at night. And that is welcome news.
The emissary of Satan was taken to the ground by a neighborhood. By people who had watched the news and recognized a face and decided not to look away. Not a task force, not a SWAT team, a neighborhood, on foot, in the street.
That's when he looked right at me at the camera, and that's when the hair on the back of my neck stood up because I thought I was looking at evil.
He screams for the police.
I saw a sheriff's patrol car coming down the street, at which point in time I knew that my life was over. I was just really pissed off at the way things had turned out.
Ramirez entered the courtroom wearing sunglasses and shackles. He's accused of 43 crimes, including 13 murders and multiple counts of rape, robbery, sodomy, and oral copulation. Outside the courtroom, metal detectors were used to beef up security. Dozens of spectators crowded the hallway, hoping to get a glimpse of the accused serial killer.
The long-awaited trial of Night Stalker suspect Richard Ramirez got underway today, more than 3 years after he was arrested.
Over 500 pretrial motions. The strategy is not to win. It is to exhaust, to delay, to degrade witness memory, to make the prosecution's job as procedurally expensive as possible. People versus Ramirez would become one of the longest and most expensive criminal trials in California history. Cost to the state estimated at over $1.8 million. It took 6 months just to pick a jury. He uses the time well. Fan mail arrives, love letters. He answers them carefully. He is building the audience for the show that is about to begin.
He didn't want to take off his sunglasses, and he left them on, and he'd scan the audience looking for good-looking women. He'd pick one out, that's the one he was going to look at.
He removes them periodically to hold sustained, non-reactive eye contact with individual jurors, exploiting their awareness that he knows who they are, that he can see their faces, that they will have to live with whatever verdict they return. He raises his left hand to the cameras, a pentagram drawn on the palm, and he shouted the following words.
I won't come back in here again. You understand that? This trial is a joke, though.
The judge calls for order. Ramirez sits back, satisfied. The trial runs for over a year. Several jurors report receiving what they believe are threatening communications. Others describe his sustained eye contact as something they cannot stop thinking about after leaving the courtroom. He was aware of the dynamic. He cultivated it deliberately. Then, in July 1989, during the penalty phase, something happens that briefly threatens to make the mythology even larger. Juror Phyllis Singletary is found dead in her apartment, shot.
It's something that no lawyer could ever envision, no judge could ever envision. It was like out of outer space.
One of the jurors has been murdered in her home in a scene reminiscent of a Night Stalker killing. The defense demands a mistrial. The entire proceeding is in jeopardy. But Judge Tynan rules that the trial should continue.
The media response is immediate and frantic. If Ramirez had managed to have a sitting juror killed from inside Los Angeles County Jail, it would be the most audacious act of witness intimidation in American legal history. It would also be completely wrong. Phyllis Singletary was murdered by her boyfriend, James Melton, an abusive domestic partner who had threatened her before. It had nothing to do with Richard Ramirez. Melton was arrested, tried, and convicted. But the misreporting lasted long enough to do exactly what Ramirez needed. It made him seem capable of reach beyond prison walls. It added a chapter to a mythology he was carefully maintaining from his cell. Phyllis Singletary was 38 years old. She was a juror who showed up and did what her country asked of her. She deserved better than having her death used as a plot point in someone else's story.
It was the moment the about-to-be convicted killer did not want to face.
You give up your right to be present while the verdicts are read here in open court.
Yes.
The judge granted the request, and over the intercom to his holding cell, Richard Ramirez heard the verdicts.
Guilty of murder.
13 murders.
Guilty of rape.
11 sex crimes.
Guilty of burglary at residence and dwelling house occupied.
19 additional felonies.
Guilty.
Guilty on all counts. And when the prosecutors and investigative team emerged into the court's overcrowded hallway, their relief was apparent.
Relieved is a good word. Glad it's over.
It was not over for him. He had spent 3.5 years building an audience in that courtroom. He was not going to leave without a closing act.
I do have something to say. I don't need to hear all of society's rationalization. I've heard them long before, and the fact remains that what is is. You men must get the Chris one at all. You don't understand me. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil. Legions of the night, magically, repeat not the words of the night, Prowler, and show no mercy. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all. That's it.
As he is escorted out of the courtroom, the hallway is a wall of cameras. Reporters shout questions. They want a reaction. They want to see fear, but they don't get it. Ramirez turns to the press. He looks directly into the lenses and delivers his final line.
How do you feel? That's all one of the territories. I'll see you in Disneyland. From my childhood and up to the time I was 18 years old, I believed in God. When I reached the age of 21, I came to California. I met a guy, he told me about Satan, and I picked it up from there. Satan is a stabilizing force in my life. It gives me a reason to be. It gives me an excuse to rationalize. I was in alliance with the evil that is inherent in human nature. And that was who I was.
Demons, if you believe in them, you help them and they help you. It's like scratching each other's back.
an excuse to rationalize. He said it himself. Let us talk about the Satanism, because it is the foundation of the mythology, and it deserves a forensic examination rather than a horror movie treatment. Yes, Ramirez drew pentagrams at crime scenes, made victims swear allegiance to Satan, displayed 666 on his palm in court, shouted "Hail Satan" at sentencing, received love letters from women who found it compelling, all historically accurate. And all of it, examined without the theatrical lighting the media provided, amounts to the behavior of a severe narcissist who needed a cosmological framework large enough to contain his self-image because every other measurable dimension of who he was came up small. It did not start in a Los Angeles courtroom. It started in a bedroom in El Paso, Texas. As a teenager, Ramirez read obsessively about Jack the Ripper. He was drawn to the control, the darkness, the ability to move through the night completely unseen.
The first to really notice serial killer was Jack the Ripper. I remember in my childhood reading about him with his black cloak, a fog, nighttime. The media tends to, if not glorify, but paint him in a way that is very sinister and diabolical. To some of us, that is appealing. It certainly was to me. Do you think that evil can be reincarnated, that a killer like Jack the Ripper? I hope so.
He read the Satanic Bible. He absorbed occult imagery from paperback books and borrowed it from the heavy metal albums he played on loop. What he was building, piece by piece, was not a religion. It was an identity, a framework large enough to contain a self-image that had no other foundation to stand on. A violent father, 2 traumatic brain injuries, a cousin who taught him that power meant the ability to destroy. By the time he arrived in Los Angeles, he had been constructing this identity for over a decade. Ramirez always had a very poor self-image. He had spent his entire life being nobody, a drifter, a petty thief, a malnourished burglar, sleeping in cheap motels. The Satanism did not precede the crimes. It grew alongside them. It was fed by them. It was inflated by the attention they produced. And then he started writing letters. Ramirez wrote to the Church of Satan from prison, seeking recognition, seeking to be seen as one of them. Anton LaVey, the founder, wanted nothing to do with him. He called him a liability, a criminal who was causing a PR nightmare during the height of the satanic panic of the 1980s. The church publicly distanced itself from Ramirez as fast as it could.
The Church of Satan has never condoned the beliefs and practices of criminal Richard Ramirez. He was not a Satanist, but rather by all accounts a devil worshiper. Unlike devil worshippers, Satanists view Satan as strictly metaphorical. The Church of Satan also explicitly rejects criminal activity in general. Some interviews claim Ramirez found inspiration in the Satanic Bible, but a look at that or our other literature shows that Satanism does not condone his crimes, nor his demented supernatural beliefs. For example, rape is explicitly condemned in the Satanic Bible. There is also no evidence of Ramirez ever having been a member of the Church of Satan. There are stories of him allegedly trying to visit Anton LaVey at our original headquarters in San Francisco, but by that point in our history, our activities were no longer open to the public. If a stranger showed up unannounced, they would understandably not have been welcome and would have been told to leave. There is a false story that has been going around claiming that Zena LaVey visited Ramirez in prison and made him an honorary member. We know this story is blatantly false because Zena never at any time had the authority to grant memberships. Furthermore, Ramirez's conviction as a criminal by that point would have disqualified him from being able to join the organization anyway.
But Zena LaVey, Anton's daughter, who served as high priestess of the church during that period, saw it differently.
Richard Ramirez was a serial killer, a serial murderer in Los Angeles in the 80s who self-identified as a Satanist, and he was a follower of my father's. And he's somebody that, the present-day Church of Satan wants to pretend there was no connection to. But But here's the thing, as I was beginning to represent the Church of Satan on a broader level, in a broader spectrum, and there were some things that began developing in me. And those were realizations that if you are a real religion, you can't pick and choose who is drawn to that religion.
The Church of Satan built a philosophy around indulgence, power, and the rejection of conventional morality. Richard Ramirez read that philosophy as a teenager and took it to its logical conclusion. And when he did, the church that inspired him closed the door and pretended he had never knocked. The man who built his entire identity around Satanism was rejected by the actual Satanists. The Satanism was how a nobody tried to feel like a god. But his dark theater worked. He still found his audience. By the time Ramirez was convicted, he was receiving more mail than almost any other death row prisoner in California. Fan letters, love letters, nude photographs, offers of marriage.
They are the women in black, admirers of Richard Ramirez. Why were you in the courtroom today?
I just wanted to see what he looked like. I think he's cute.
This woman, who gave her name only as Paige, calls herself a Satanist. She says Ramirez has written letters to her and that she's talked with him in jail.
Everyone makes him look so bad, but I know that he's a nice person because I've met him and I know.
He's convicted of 13 murders.
I know. But he's really a nice guy. It's very out of the usual. It's very out of the norm to be able to do that for a certain amount of time and length, a period of time, and get away with it. Especially the outrageousness of it, the kind of murders that he did. When I went to go visit him, I asked him, I said, how many other girls visit you? I want to know. And he kind of laughed and said, there's 2, but I already know them, and I've known them for a while, and they're just like acquaintances, and, kind of, made me think that and believe like I was like the only one that he liked that was visiting him.
Their attraction may be difficult to explain, but from Los Angeles to San Francisco, they stalk Ramirez whenever he appears in a courtroom.
How do you respond to people who are going to think you're crazy for this?
I'll just say that they just don't understand.
A freelance journalist named Doreen Leoy wrote to him over 500 times before his trial concluded. She attended every day of proceedings. When he was convicted, she did not stop. They were married in October 1996 at San Quentin State Prison. Doreen Leoy was not uneducated, not incapacitated. She was a professional who made a deliberate, sustained choice across years. The question is not whether this was irrational. It was. The question is what psychological architecture produces this specific irrationality.
This particular phenomenon actually has a name. It's called Hybristophilia. And there's been a lot of speculation as to what causes it.
Commonly called Bonnie and Clyde syndrome. It runs on 3 mechanisms. The first is the rescuer fantasy. The underlying belief is this: I can reach him. I see through the monster. I see the damaged human being beneath.
There's this idea that a woman would believe that the man is innocent and that she's going to be there to support him. And when he's eventually found innocent in reality, they'll be together, and again, kind of a fantasy.
Ramirez knew what the women reading his letters were looking for. A moment of softness, a literary reference. He gave it to them, strategically.
There are many who would look at Richard Ramirez in the eye and say, he's the face of evil. Mm-hmm. And yet you look at him and you see the man of your dreams.
Yeah.
Who needs glasses here?
I can't help the way the world looks at him. They don't know him the way I do.
And the next day, Doreen walked down the aisle, albeit a prison aisle, with her groom. Here's the couple and her response at being the new Mrs. Richard Ramirez.
It feels wonderful. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled, very proud, and a little relieved that the bulk of the day is over, and just hopefully I can enjoy the rest of my day in peace with Richard's family and think about the importance of what happened today.
The second mechanism is the safe control illusion. This explains why the letters kept coming, even after the fantasy should have collapsed. For women with a history of intimate partner violence, a man behind bars is, paradoxically, the safest intimate relationship available.
I've seen another theory that the relationship is safe. Right, the man's in prison, so the woman doesn't have to have any physical interaction. She can always be safe outside the prison.
He cannot come home. He cannot escalate. He cannot find you in the night. You hold the only key that matters, your willingness to write. You can end it with a single decision, and he cannot follow. What they have built is not a relationship. It is a psychological solution to a psychological wound, one that functions only as long as they never have to confront the specific reality of who he is.
It's a way of reminding yourself that you have a very strong bond with another human being in the ring. During our wedding ceremony, the Commissioner of Marriage described our ring as an unbroken circle of love. And that's really exactly what it is.
The third mechanism is the phenomenon of parasocial relationships, and this one is the most uncomfortable because it implicates not just the women who wrote to Ramirez, but the culture that made him famous in the first place. By the time of his trial, Ramirez was one of the most famous people in California. Prolonged media exposure to a figure produces emotional investment that mirrors real-world relationships, regardless of the figure's actual character. For a subset of the audience, he felt known. He felt familiar. He wasn't a man who beat elderly women with a hammer. He was a character, and they wanted to be part of his story.
She did that and blew him a kiss, and I'm saying, holy Jesus. And I went back and I told my partner, I said, hey, I want to get arrested. Is this what goes along with the territory?
You know what I like? That fucking speech you made in the courtroom. I prepared it, yeah? You kidding? Oh, I didn't know that. So what'd you think? You were running for office?
He rehearsed his own trial like a politician running for office. By 1993, Ramirez has been on death row for 4 years. He has read the coverage. He knows exactly what the mythology says about him, and he is going to keep reciting his prepared lines to keep his audience hooked. Because underneath the satanic performance, he was obsessed with his public image.
I was asked recently why I did it, right? Hate, anger, sex, self-gratification, for money, for excitement. The intensity of the moment. You're not going to make that bad.
It's not a matter of looking bad or looks good. I am concerned with the truth.
You're not gonna make me out to look bad, are you? A man who admits to killing for hate, anger, and self-gratification is terrified of bad PR. When forced to confront the literal reality of what he did, he just lies.
Did you kill 13 people?
It would be improper for me to comment on my LA convictions and on my pending case here in San Francisco.
Why?
Because of my appeals.
Are you appealing these because you say you're innocent? You didn't kill 13 people?
That is correct.
Notice the cowardice. When asked to stand by his crimes, the terrifying Night Stalker hides behind legal loopholes and court dates. But the moment the journalist allows him to speak abstractly, the performance begins. Watch his body language. Listen to the heavy, performative sighs. He rarely looks at the journalist. He looks away. He acts bored. He wants the room to feel like the questions are beneath him.
People in this day and age are brainwashed and programmed like a computer at being nothing more than puppets. Serial killers do on a small scale what governments do on a large one. They are a product of the times, and these are bloodthirsty times. The great epochs of our life is when we gain the courage to rebaptize our evil qualities as being our best quality. Madness is something rare in individuals, but in groups, people, and ages, it is a rule. Violent delights tend to have violent ends.
He steals quotes from Friedrich Nietzsche and William Shakespeare. He recites lines he clearly memorized in his cell to sound like a philosopher of evil. And the journalist knows it.
You're good at reading your script, Richard, but you're not much at answering my direct questions.
But he didn't care if the journalist saw through him. He took that same script to any network that would give him airtime.
Believe it or not, about another show. And it was an exclusive interview we did in August from Death Row in California. And everyone should see what this guy is like and how he treats humanity and the human condition.
I think most humans have in them the capacity to commit murder. It is not because...
No, we don't, Richard.
They choose not to, not because they are morally superior, as they so commonly claim, but because they are imprisoned in a web of responsibilities, commitments, beliefs, and sentiments.
Richard.
And that would render murder an absurd gamble or ridiculous self-destruction.
But maintaining a character like that is exhausting. And when the cameras kept rolling, the mask occasionally slipped. In rare, unedited footage captured by an Israeli documentary crew, the terrifying Night Stalker completely breaks character. He loses his train of thought. He forgets his lines. He becomes exactly what he always was, an awkward, insecure man trying to run a con.
What kind of a person are you?
What kind of person would I describe myself to be? I don't know. Just an ordinary person. I don't know. I can't answer that, Mikhail. I mean, hold it. Just no. We can't get into that. See, she tries and makes, keeps me going, but I can't. Don't laugh like that. You're making me laugh. I hope you edit this real good, Philip.
I hope you edit this real good. The monster needs to be saved in post-production. And then he admits exactly why he's struggling to maintain the character.
Sometimes I can't say what I really feel. I am pending trial here.
Richard Ramirez was a master manipulator, but he was no dark philosopher. He was not a supernatural entity. But make no mistake, he was the absolute embodiment of evil. When you look into his eyes in this footage, you don't see a mythological demon. You see something much more terrifying. You see a void, a cunning human being who willingly hollowed out his own soul until there was nothing left but a disorganized, cowardly sadist. The darkness inside him was absolute. The brutality he inflicted on his victims was unspeakable. And the blood on his hands was permanent. And while he sat in a prison cell, obsessing over his public image and begging a television editor to make him look good, a family in San Francisco was still waiting for an answer. May Leung was 9 years old. April 1984, the Imperial Hotel, Tenderloin District. She was the first person Richard Ramirez killed. She was found in the basement of the building where she lived. She had been beaten. She had been sexually assaulted, and her body had been hung from a pipe. She was a sweet, innocent little girl, and for 25 years, nobody could prove it. Her family had no closure, just the wound and the waiting. While Ramirez spent those exact same years carefully constructing his mythology, the interviews, the pentagrams, the fan mail. It was all built on top of a 9-year-old girl he thought he got away with. In 2009, DNA evidence finally shattered the illusion, confirming his guilt in the murder of May Leung.
A cold case hit in a 25-year-old San Francisco murder, and it links the crime to a notorious serial killer. Now police say his DNA is a match in the murder of a 9-year-old girl here in the Tenderloin.
It was a brutal murder, and she had been sexually assaulted.
Doreen Leoy never legally filed for divorce, but she cut ties completely. Ramirez had reportedly always assured her that he did not hurt children. It is impossible to maintain the rescuer fantasy or a romantic Bonnie and Clyde illusion when the misunderstood bad boy in the cage is confirmed to have killed a 9-year-old girl in a hotel basement. Her disillusionment is not a punchline, it is data. The mythology was always going to collapse when confronted with the unromantic, brutal reality of what he actually did. The women who wrote to him were not responding to who he was. They were responding to a character he played. And when the mask finally came off, there was nothing left to love. Richard Ramirez arrived on death row at San Quentin in 1989. The California legal system did not execute him. He developed B-cell lymphoma on June 7, 2013. At 53 years old, he died from complications of the disease in a hospital bed.
Condemned murderer Richard Ramirez has died. Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, put fear and terror into California residents in the 1980s. He died of liver failure while he was on death row.
Ramirez vowed vengeance. Instead, his liver gave out. Just a short while ago, we spoke by phone with the Night Stalker's last victim, a man who was partially paralyzed by a shot to the head, now living in North Dakota. Bill Carnes told us when he got this news this morning, I just felt like a big burden was lifted off my shoulders.
Frank Salerno, the detective who spent the summer of 1985 hunting him, had promised Ramirez he would attend his execution.
He asked me, he said, Frank, he said, are you going to attend my execution? I said, yes, I am. He never showed any remorse for what he had done. He wanted to be known as the greatest serial killer that ever lived.
A promise Frank Salerno fully intended to keep. In his last recorded interview, Ramirez said this:
We're born alone and we die alone, and in between is our lives.
Richard Ramirez's name has been in this documentary for over 1 hour. It will not appear again. What follows is for the people this story has always been about, because the true measure of these crimes is not the mythology of the man who committed them. It is the specific, irreplaceable futures that were taken away. They were veterans, grandmothers, fiancés, and children. They had businesses, weekend routines, and families who loved them. Whether they had decades ahead of them or simply deserved to finish their lives in peace, every single day they had left was stolen. To the survivors who fought back, and to the families who have carried the weight of those nights for 40 years, what you built after he left belongs entirely to you.
We are survivors. If we allow him to victimize us, then we are as much in a prison as he is, and I refuse to be that.
The people in this documentary were not footnotes to his story. He was a footnote to theirs. Subscribe to America's Most Evil for more documentaries on the most notorious serial killers and criminal cases in American history. Did H.H. Holmes really slaughter 200 people inside his murder castle? Or was America's first serial killer just a con artist? Click on the video on the left to find out. To uncover the 30-second police mistake that let the Zodiac killer escape, click on the video on the right. Thanks for watching.